thank you so much for taking the time to talk with TechRaptor today. We're going to be talking about Gladlands at the moment. 3 episodes are out, 3 to go. To kind of, begin at the beginning, I'd love to hear from you guys. What was the initial pitch that you guys got for Gladlands, and what really made you want to be, a part of this season of Dimension 20?
The pitch was essentially, like this post-apocalyptic world, but instead of people devolving into chaos, it's like what happens when a caravan of people decide to spread positivity and joy. And for me, I said, okay. But then they were like, okay, here's who we're thinking of casting in this season. Blank, 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 blank. And I said, okay, yes. Oh, you mean all of my favorite people in the whole wide world? Well, of course, I'm in. So that's what got me to join the Gladlands.
And for you, Jacob?
A very similar experience. Brennan hit me with the math, and I was like, I was like, okay, these are two entities that I recognize, and I know there's a place where they meet, but it didn't immediately click to me, and it required me probably asking 15 or minutes worth of questions. But Brennan had it all locked and loaded because he's fucking Brennan, and I was like, okay, yeah, I see what we're going for here. I see what we're like. I see the needle that we're trying to thread, and started thinking of some fun characters, and then it was like, here's who's also gonna be there, and I was like, oh yeah, whatever it takes, man.
And you speak, about the characters. What inspired you? We've got the very interesting Totoro hybrid Pikachu, Kokomo, and a librarian drag queen. So, Oscar, if you want to start, what was the inspiration behind your character, and were there any specific drag queens that you were channeling in your performance?
The only drag queen that I was channeling was the iconic Tina Turner herself in her character Aunt Entity in Poppy Persona. When Brennan gave the premise, my immediate reaction was like, oh, Tina Turner in Beyond Thunderdome. And to me, I've always seen Aunt Entity as a drag queen because she has to be this larger than life personality to run the Thunderdome. And I was like, what would my character's Thunderdome be? And it'd be like, oh, well, it'd be like a storytelling thing. It's like, oh, well, there's Drag Queen Story Hour. And so that's where the character of Poppy Persona sort of like the seed of it sort of was created. And in terms of like, is there an actual drag queen that no, not really. No, I try to stay away from any like existing drag artist to sort of mimic because they're all incredible artists. And listen, I do drag as well. So I would say like Ozma, that's my drag alter ego. That's who Poppy Persona is.
Oh yeah. And Jacob, for your healing character Kokomo.
My head first went to like the Glad side of things, and I was thinking, what's a role that could exist in that world that would be fun to me, and I thought a lot about like childcare and like how these communities other than Western civilizations like look after children and kind of like pod them together, and there's like a more community effort to look after people than a nuclear family. And then I went to the Mad Max side of things and was thinking like, well, what would mutate into that? And I just started thinking like big round couch boy. What is that? How do you get there? And then I think I rewatched My Neighbor's Totoro just for vibes, and I was like, yeah, it's that. It's this big comforting force for kids. And then I just thought a lot about like what would be left over in a wasteland, and I figured there's enough Beach Boys albums and memorabilia that like something would have to slip through, just like similar to like something like the Beatles or Led Zeppelin, like probably survived just because of, or Michael Jackson, like something of his probably survived, and I just really latched onto like Beach Boys and then Kokomo, and then it all just slowly patched itself together like a weird pair of jeans.
Did that make the ability to add these mutations in? Did that make the character creation process like easier or harder? Kind of like as it expands out and becomes a bit limitless.
It's sort of just like an easy out in the sense that you can be like, well, I just mutated that way. Can't argue with that, man. Well, it's just a radiation, you know. So it does give you a lot of freedom, where so much freedom that somebody's dad could be a motorcycle and somebody's mom could be a condor.
Yeah,
Like, there's
or
a
that
lot
you
of
can
freedom.
be the hottest bodied person ever and have a face of a bug.
And Jacob, this is now your second time being on Dimension 20. What lessons do you think that you took coming away from Never Stop Blowing Up that you knew that you wanted to apply for this season?
Absolutely. Well, it's both Oscar and I's sophomore jaunt into it, and I think it was just a big lesson of like, I'm more comfortable now. I'm not as intimidated by I think what the dome is and how important the dome is to a lot of people. I think it's a very intimidating thing to participate in, and to just have a little bit more comfortability in there, and to be supported by like very great people was just like, I was like, we can't lose, man. Can't lose. So I just felt more confident.
And definitely in tones of like the positivity. Oscar, your first season, Faye and Flowers, and this season are kind of the same, but everything else is wildly different. What was it like for you coming back in?
Yeah, I share Waisaki's sentiment too, but I'd also add confident and also comfortable. I felt way more. I felt like super comfortable because I've done it before. The first time I was like learning how to play the game as I was playing it, but this one, even though with a wildly different mechanic, the kids on bike mechanic for Gladlands, it was a lot easier for me to RP, and I was like, oh, that's the easy part of it, and I get to RP with like my best friends. Oh, say less. Like I'm good. So I just felt super comfortable in the dome this time around.
Fantastic. And yeah, you know, with the mutations and with this crazy setting where you can reference things from the past, and sometimes just Jacob is there at the Chilli cookout. What was it?
Yes, yes, you're the You're in all of the scenes.
Like the Where's Wally will be in like all the animated shorts. You'll just be in there in the back.
Totally forgot about that. Pretty funny. Pretty funny. We're all laughing. You know?
I was going to say, like, you know, being able to have so many outlandish bits, you know, what's it like to roleplay that? And was there ever any fear of going too far?
I fear we did go too far. This, I like I said before, I was like, is any of this usable? We are just having too good of a time, just riffing and doing bits. But that's just a testament to the sort of storytelling power that Brennan Lee Mulligan has. Like, he was able to steer the ship if things were getting a little too chaotic, and also we know when to like lock in and when to be silly and goofy and stuff. So I think we were able to do both of those things equally well.
And then there was an interesting moment in this like collaborative story that Brennan makes it kind of clear as like everyone splits off from the Chilli cook-off, and there's some bad roles that you guys have kind of, you know, failed at what you were trying to do as a party from that moment on that like I haven't seen yet. How was it to take that on as a player, and then did that make you rethink your approach to interactions going forward?
It's always good to like explore and understand your sort of boundaries in a space, and I think that's just kind of what we're just kind of bouncing around, trying to be like, exactly how far is this going and in what direction, and then you kind of settle in and you push it as far as you can, I think. And I don't know if that's a perfect answer, but that's just kind of how it feels. Is like you try and you fall and you're like right there and you're supported and you're like, okay, now I realize that this level of emotion works. and this level of emotion is safe to play in. Or like this is how we do combat, and like we're pushing it there, and like you're learning as you go, and just trusting that like when it's a bump, and you find your corners.
I think also there is limitations to our best intentions too. Like I think with the concept of the Gladlands, the premise is like we're helping, right? Like we're doing what we think is right, but like what you might think is right might not be what the community needs. I like this idea of the way that we've developed our character having like the different elements and the different dice roll to those elements. And I think that influenced a lot of what my character's motives were. Like I think my character, for example, has a D20 in creativity. So Poppy lives in this imaginative state of like everything is like great, right? Because I'm a drag queen, but her awareness is like the lowest. So she's not like aware of like problems that might happen. So I think that like feeds itself well with just us trying to define what happiness is to a collective group of medium who has different built-in experiences, and sort of dealing with the failures of what that means of like, oh, we tried and it didn't work out. Well, what do you mean? And it's like, well, it's not a monolith. Like
Yeah.
what people define as happy is not the same across the board.
Yeah, it's just like a little gut punch of like, oh, it didn't work. Oh, it's truly not the Gladlands. Like everything's not perfect, and the dice aren't always on our side.
Yeah.
And you need that for good storytelling.
Wonderful. And to wrap it up, I would love to know from you guys if you yourselves ended up in the Gladlands, what role do you think that you would be best equipped to take on?
I think if this was the Gladlands, I would like to think I'd be a Poppy persona. That's why I created the character. I think that's my answer.
I'm just not making it.
What the hell?
Not making it that far.
What
True
the
belief
hell?
attitude.
No. I like accidentally shoot a president or something.
Well,
Not good.
on that delightful thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with me. And I can't wait to watch the next 3 episodes.
Have a great one.
Recording.
Keep that in, please.
Oh yeah, no, that's going in. That's going in. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with me and TechRaptor today. Super excited about the new season of Dimension 20. It's been chaotic to say as many words. To start at the very beginning, I'd love to hear from both of you kind of what was the initial pitch to be on this season of Dimension 20? You know, what made you guys want to be part of this project? I don't know, Kimia, if you want to start.
Sure, I'll start. For me, it's a shorter, easier answer than Vic. I kind of got an email being like, "You want to do D20?" And I was like, I think I do, but I'll kind of wait it out just because maybe I should wait and think about it for a second. And then I kind of got a text from Vic being like, "Hey, are you doing this D20? I got all the information. Here's everyone who's going to be there. Here's everything that's going to happen." And I was like, "Oh, great. Somebody got all the info, somebody I really trust." And then it was all my friends there at the table. And I went, that's kind of all I needed. They should have led with that. I would have said yes immediately. I don't need to know much more than all your friends are going to be there if I go do something.
And so mine was mirrored kind of almost identically. And so it's sort of like, you know, when you see a story and it's like you see one person's version of the story and then the other person's version of the story. And so for me, it was, I got an email. I said, no, David Kearns hopped on a call and was like, literally all of your best friends are going to be here. And it's Gladlands. It's going to be like a post-apocalyptic, sort of like Mad Max, but, you know, it's like things are better and it's like kind and caring. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that for sure. And then I texted Kimia to confirm before I sent my confirmation email that she was in fact going to be there, and she was like, oh, cool. Yeah, for sure then. And so then I think probably in the same minute we both sent our confirmation emails that we were going to join.
Wonderful.
Probably.
And it was a good decision. I stand by it.
I love it.
I like the cautious lead-ins. Like, nope, friends are going to be there. We're in.
Kind of all
Well,
I
I'm
need
like,
to do.
so much of improv really is about like the chemistry that you have with people. It's like, it's something that we deal with in VIP all the time. It's like when you already have that like base shared language, it's way easier to jump into something and you get to places that like, you never would have known before. So it made for a really fun and interesting storytelling season.
And in improv, there's normally like the rules of the space you follow, kind of what can you do as a person. But in Gladlands, it's all in the mind. What was it like having that freedom to riff and just create stories, or were there any fears that you would take it too far?
I don't think there was any way to take it too far, just knowing the people that were there at the table, knowing that anything you did, even if it was crazy, even like when Vic runs in with that medal at the end of
Stop.
the last episode of the Killing of
Wasn't
God,
crazy. It was pretty reasonable, actually.
it was pretty reasonable. But even that, what that we treated like a quote unquote like mess up, nothing's a mess up. It just is even funny and is also part of that character when you really think about it. So that I was bringing up not to roast you, Vic, but as an example of like we could have done anything at that table and it would have been fine because one, Brennan is like such a big brain that's taking us through exactly what we need to
Yeah.
do, the rules of the game and the world. And everyone else sitting there is people we've known for years and performed with all the time. So it's the safest space. You can do anything.
Yeah, I really genuinely believe that the only time that you can really like quote unquote mess up is when nobody is there to back you up and support you. And I just like with a group like this, it's never going to happen. There's going to be somebody that's going to step in, and then even if it like doesn't work, then there's four of you doing it together. You know what I mean? It's like it's why anytime anybody's like, "Have you ever thought about stand up?" I'm like, "No."
No by
Never.
yourself activities.
Who's going
No,
to hold my hand?
exactly. Only team sports here.
Gotta have power of numbers. If we
Yes.
all fail collectively, we succeed.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and then it's a fun story you get to tell. You know what I mean? It really is like it's a no failure sport. Improv's a sport. Improv sports, theater sports.
Totally.
Oh, definitely.
Comedy sports.
Well, you did comedy sports. I did theater sports. And that's sort of the biggest point of contention
Is
between
that
the
the
two.
That's why
shark
we're
and jets
enemies.
line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our enemy story.
You've got this world of post-apocalyptic but very nice. Then what
Yeah.
made you want to create the kind of character that you created? What was the nugget of story or mechanic that drew you to be like, this is who I want to inhabit in this world?
I sort of went with my first idea that came up when I heard about the setting. So I heard it was post-apocalypse, and I thought cockroaches survived that long. And then after, it usually helps me in brainstorming when I like trust my first idea and then go, okay, let's go deeper into that instead of sitting and like trying to find another new best idea. So I went cockroach, and then I went, okay, great. So how do I make this matter? How do I make it mean something in this world? And it is like if it has survived this long, it's probably a lonely guy. And if it's on a caravan going around to communities only being used for its one ability, which is that it can't die or explode, the thing that makes him feel the most lonely, like how does that feel? Does he feel used in that way? And then also, it's such a big idea. I wanted to make any lesson he learned kind of bite sized. So I made him kind of a dumb guy so that anything that he experiences, he can sum up the way a kid might with a kid brain, because that is the way an audience can maybe understand such a big idea in a better way. So that is how we got test tubes.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. That's so wonderful. And then for Hoogie, it really was like, I'd been reading this book From Here to Eternity, which is all about sort of like cultural death practices and like things that are unique to different cultures, and it really took it from an anthropological standpoint, and it made grief a lot more accessible because it really treats it as like everyone's going to do it, and it's like it took like the grief out of grief. It was more like the practice of grief and the practice of death, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting, and like exploring like the way in which a community deals with death, especially that's been like ravaged, and a lot of the people are like either one generation away or saw this like mass extinction event. People are still going to die in the Gladlands, and the way that as a society in which we handle death is really important because it's very indicative of the type of society that we live in. And so like having somebody around that's going to treat that with like care and respect, and to make the people that are going through it feel honored and seen, I think is important to a healthy society. But it's obviously a job that people really don't want to do. So what does the guy who does that job look like? Was sort of my thought, and it's Hoogie. Paper thin skin, glowing eyes, sharp teeth, bird body.
Yeah.
Like a necessary part of society, but one of those jobs that people may not necessarily want to get into.
Yeah, and the it's sort of like I the way I thought about Hoogie really is like this looming specter of death, but at the same time, this looming specter of death has to have a way to unwind, and like wants to have a downtime and wants to have friends too, and it's like is also just a constant reminder that like life is not guaranteed or forever, and so like that also is just like even in the downtime, even if it's in the back of people's minds, does I think make Hoogie hard to get close to, and I think makes Hoogie think that it's hard to get close to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the characters have so many dimensions. It's not even just a 3D character. It's like so many layers in all of the Gladlands, in the characters, and also in the communities that we go meet because we designed them like the same way we designed our characters.
Yeah.
So there's so much mental juggling that we do that mirrors what we do in our own communities, which was really fun to play through.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
totally.
And so it's both of your first outings on Dimension 20. Coming out of the experience, did you have history with TTRPGs beforehand? What do you feel like you learned and can take away from the experience?
I think neither of us had a ton of experience. For me, it was like I played at a home game that was sort of like a lockdown home game, and it mostly was just a way to sort of like chit chat amongst friends, and like we used our combat to do gymnastics to see like how many flips we could do and stuff like that, which was really fun. But I wouldn't say necessarily prepared me for the amount that you have to be doing in the dome when you're being filmed and recorded. And I've done like some little other things here and there, like a podcast style. But again, I think this was like the biggest, most intense, hands down, like RPG, TTRPG, TTRPG.
It's yeah,
You nailed that.
either or interchangeable.
Film FTT RPG filmed tabletop role playing game experience.
Yeah, I also hadn't played very much, and so honestly, this is what I think all of them are, and I'm hearing that it's kind of an outlier here because we're not doing a lot of combat, big bads, magic spells, stuff like that. So if I had to go back and do something like that, I'd be so confused, or just try to like do therapy with every giant monster that we found, and see if we could diffuse them instead of defeat them, because now this is just
You just
what
get killed over and over.
yeah, but that's what I think roleplay games are now.
I could see that on a subsequent season. Oops, all therapists, just like
Fun.
healing everyone.
That's what we're doing here.
And for a final question, I'd love to know for you, Vic, for you, Kimia, if you yourself ended up in the Gladlands, what job do you think you would end up picking for yourself?
Ooh, I mean, like, I'm constantly threatening to go back to school to be like an EMT or a nurse. So I think that's probably what I would want to do. I think like I weirdly I think I'm quite good in hospitals, and like I'm good in emergency situations like that. So I think that that is like what I would gravitate towards. I'd need the training, but I feel like in a situation like that where there's not like TV, I'd have a lot more time to sort of like focus on studying.
What would I do? I'd maybe want to do some job with like the kids in the Gladlands, because that just sounds really sweet and fun, and just kind of like sounds like my level of how I would process living in the Gladlands through how a child would. And so to be someone who could help them, process or play in a place that's a post-apocalypse, that just sounds like a nice job to have.
I could also see you Station 11 style, like being a part of like a traveling theater troupe. Like it would only be like old Shakespearean plays because that's what people really remember. Like I could see you crushing in something like that.
We could both be in that. We would both
No,
really
not me.
drive there. Yeah,
No
sure.
way, not me.
You don't
I
have
could
to
be the
memorize.
announcer. Do you promise?
Yeah, you don't have to memorize. You could just say whatever you want, and the rest of us do Shakespeare, and you say whatever you want.
I love that part. Okay,
Do
great.
dueling improv sports, comedy sports. Take that
That's
on the
right.
road.
Yeah. Battle to the death.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with me. I'm so looking forward to the back half of the season. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Oh,
Thank
thanks so much,
you.
Andy.